I'm Dylan.
And I'm Keon.
And this is Trust Your Doctor, that podcast where we get caught in a web of our own lies. Because this week we watched The Caretaker.
Written by Gareth, Roberts, and Stephen Moffat.
Directed by Paul Murphy.
And aired on September 27th, 2014.
Well,
yeah, this episode.
I mean, I don't think I hated it as much as you did. But there are a lot of things that I dislike about this episode. And
Yeah.
always have. But I still think they...
have.
I still
it's
think...
only been out for 5 years.
Yeah, you can use always in that
4.5.
context. I was going to say that I still think that they put the worst or the least interesting parts of this episode into the Next Time trailer last week. But
Oh, there are many
beyond
very uninteresting parts of this episode. Basically the entire thing. There's
Well,
basically
yes.
no scene in this that isn't either boring or annoying or both.
Well, because Gareth Roberts and Stephen Moffat tried to emulate the larger and closing time, except instead of the lovable Craig, we have the Series 8 detestable version of Clara Oswald to work with.
And Danny Pink. I mean, I've been defending Danny Pink, but not completely. Not completely.
And he's starting to get on your nerves, just like mine.
No, he's been getting on my nerves. It's just not completely.
This actually was, when I watched this the first time, the first episode where Danny Pink like really got on my nerves. It's like, really, what the hell is this character?
It's really, I want to say that it's his acting. I know we looked it up, but I forget who plays him.
Samuel Anderson.
Yeah, Samuel Anderson. It's, I don't know. It just feels like there's something off about the entire realization of this character on screen. I feel like Anderson is a part of that.
Well, because I think the whole thing was just like half-baked. It was like a half-baked idea. I don't think it was... and I think that becomes like increasingly obvious near the end of the season when he's a little bit more of a presence.
Oh, boy.
I think it becomes kind of obvious that at least something around his character wasn't exactly thought through before he was put on screen.
Oh, boy.
But I mean, I have a lot of things to say about him in this episode.
I have a lot of things to say about this episode in general, and none of them are very nice.
Yikes. Didn't your mother ever tell you that if you didn't have anything nice to say, don't say it? This podcast
No,
would be
actually,
drastically shorter when you abided by that rule.
Actually, I learned that from Bambi. From the rabbit's mother in that movie.
From your surrogate mother. Just in case the audience didn't know, Keon was raised by Bambi.
Yeah, I've watched Bambi like over 100 times. Actually, over like 300 times. Actually, probably over 500 times. I mean, I haven't actually counted, but I would not be surprised if it was over 500 times.
Could you quote it line for line?
No.
Bummer. I'm sure if you started watching it, though, it would all come back to you and be like, I remember this.
Probably, yeah.
Well, so the story begins kind of in the middle of nowhere. The Doctor and Clara are trapped on a planet that looks a lot like Gallifrey.
Yeah, I completely forgot about this.
Well, it was completely forgettable, so...
Yeah. Because they immediately go into, like, how did we get here type thing, which is basically the entirety of the episode.
Well, Clara... I almost said the Clara there, but I didn't.
Have we done the Clara yet? Have we said the
No, I
Clara
don't
yet?
believe-
Guess she's not a proper companion then.
She probably never will be.
Yeah, if this
based
episode...
on that metric.
Yeah.
So... She mentions that she's going to die out there because the vibro cutters are in her other coat at home, and the Doctor's like, why do you have two coats? What's wrong with the other coat? Is it broken? She's like, no, I just have two coats. And he's like, wow. But then we see her go to a date with Danny Pink. She's all sunburned. He's like, wow, you weren't that tan this morning. She's like, yeah, went to the tanning bed, which, that lie could have been sold pretty well if she hadn't said it in the most suspicious way possible.
Yeah, so there's sort of a little mini montage, I guess, of Clara living this double life.
Right.
Which, at this point, like, I'm on board with the episode. Like, it looks pretty interesting. She's pretty, tired out by trying to live this double life and stuff. And she eventually
lying
sits
to
down,
Danny.
right, and lying.
And the Doctor.
And the Doctor, yeah, because apparently the Doctor doesn't know that... What doesn't he? That she has a boyfriend or that she?
No, he knows that she has a boyfriend. He doesn't know that it's Danny.
Yeah, that's what it is.
But she never told him she had a boyfriend, though. He just figured it out. Because she kept saying she had to go
All right.
hang out with this guy.
Yeah. I mean, there's going to be a lot of that this episode of like me saying like what happened, and then because I don't know, I fell off the.
Because I don't know.
I fell off the the ship of this episode partway through, and more like I swan dived off it majestically.
Dolphin dive.
Yeah. So she eventually sits down and says like I can't keep doing this.
Well,
what am I saying? Of course I can keep doing this.
You're missing out on a really suspicious lies. Like the tanning bed one, where instead of just going, yeah, I was at the tanning bed, she goes, tanning bed. Mm-hmm, yeah, that's it. Or the time that her and the doctor go to see the fish people, and I was like, are those the fish people from the doctor's daughter? Anyway. She then goes to Danny. She's like, freak shower. And Danny's like, wait, what? It's raining outside? She's like, yep. And he's like, is that seaweed in your hair? And she's like, yep, freak shower. Mm-hmm, yep. And then she's running away from something with the doctor. And then Danny shows up at her door. It's like early in the morning. He's like, so you ready for our run? And she's like, And that's when she does that. I can't keep doing this. And she's like, what am I talking about? Yes, I can. And then she goes, this is like a couple days later, I guess. She goes into the TARDIS like, so what's up today? And the doctor's like, nothing. She's like, wait, what? He's like, nothing.
And then she comes right back at the doctor with a line that I guess comes right back to bite her in the back later on of like, doctor, this is a mistake that all people who think they're really smart make. They think people around them are really dumb, and I'm not dumb, so I know something's going on.
Yeah, she does this immediately. This immediately comes back to bite her in like the literal next scene in a very subtle sense, but comes back in a more like over the top in your face sense later on.
This was all just a play.
But I mean, the doctor's like, yeah, nothing. I'm just going into deep undercover to go defeat something. She's like, okay, well, okay.
Well, she's kind of in disbelief. She's like, you in deep cover? You wouldn't fit in on Earth anywhere. And turns out she's right. It's just that everyone who works at Coal Hill School is completely oblivious to how weird the doctor's being.
Maybe he's got one of those perception filters.
Maybe.
I mean, but she goes to school. She sees Danny outside. She's acting kind of weird, and Danny's just like, I'm not stupid. Immediately, like, throwing that line when she's like, clever people think that everyone's dumb, right back in her face.
Maybe she got it from him.
The doctor?
No, Danny.
Oh.
Maybe he's thrown it at her before, and she decided to throw it at the doctor.
Well, it seems that some time has passed, that their relationship has progressed, because they seem a lot closer than before.
Yeah. And I mean,
Danny still seems really awkward around her, though.
Yeah, and I mean the other side of that is true as well. They both seem pretty awkward around each other, and I guess now is a good time to throw it out. This was a big thing that I disliked about the episode, how it focused so much on this. I don't want to call it love triangle, but like Danny and Clara's relationship, and then what the doctor thinks of that. It's just like, really? I don't want to watch this. And the supernatural stuff was so lame in this episode.
Well, I mean, that's tying into that email we got. Now, I can't remember if it was from J.B. Anderton or from Boz Warrington. When they asked, can we figure out what the hell Moffat was trying to say with the Danny character being a soldier? Because a lot of that focus in this episode on the relationship boils down to the doctor like not liking that Danny's a soldier and not liking that Clara's dating a soldier, except we don't really get like any explanation for why the doctor hates soldiers so much at this point. We don't really get an explanation why Danny's such an asshole to the doctor. So
well, we can imagine why the doctor hates soldiers.
Yeah.
Already. I mean, just based on like things we've seen before, the Time War, the War Doctor, and all of that stuff. I don't think you need to like have actual insight and knowledge as to why. I mean, you can put the pieces together. Unless you jump in this season and you're like, I wonder if they're going to reveal why this guy hates soldiers so much.
But that doesn't explain why, on the other side of the coin, Danny's just being such a little Well, in this whole episode.
It's really multiple different episodes, but
Okay, yes.
I mean, like,
but
I don't know.
we're
You
talking
can,
about this episode
I mean,
specifically.
Yeah,
And there's
again,
like one
like
scene
I've-
in particular that I was watching and I was like, wow, Danny's like completely way out of line in this scene.
yeah. I know which scene you're talking about. I know exactly which scene you're talking about without having even to say it. But yeah, I mean, you can also, I guess, devil's advocate here because I didn't like this episode either. But you can kind of piece it together with like his trauma and stuff like that. But all right, yeah. I mean, I guess, like we mentioned a couple weeks ago, this is like the new Stephen Moffat thing of characters just bickering with each other.
Somehow, if I had to postulate a theory, I'd say that Sherlock got way too popular, and the bickering in that show, Moffat was like, that's what people like about Sherlock.
Well,
Let's put that in Doctor Who.
It was the Iron Man effect, where like the snarky humor in Iron Man was applied to every superhero movie, regardless of whether it fit or not.
The Iron Man effect.
Have you watched
Potentially.
Endgame yet?
Yeah. It was alright. It was way overhyped, but it was alright. It's one of those movies that the more you think about it, the more it starts to fall apart. You know, one of those movies that if you just don't think about anything, it looks really pretty. But the instant you start actually thinking about it, falls apart completely. We had a couple episodes of Doctor Who like that, at least in my opinion. But anyway, this isn't an Endgame podcast. The Doctor then shows up at the school. Well, I guess they have this teachers meeting every morning in the teachers' lounge.
We don't know if it's every morning. Might just be to introduce. I mean, I think it was just to introduce the doctor.
Well, the teacher's going over like all the things they got to go over that day, like the headmaster anyway.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, we have assembly in 20 minutes, so make sure your classes are all there at assembly. And then he's like, oh yes, I invited the new caretaker to come to this meeting today. Wonder where he is. And the doctor pops up and is like, hello, John Smith, the caretaker. A lot of people just call me the doctor, though. And he winks at Clara.
And that's when we get the title sequence, so pretty long introduction here.
Right.
And it's all just downhill from here.
So the title sequence is on a good cliffhanger, with the doctor revealing himself to be undercover at Coal Hill School. And then I think the immediate first scene after the title sequence is we get these two kids playing, I guess, Game Boy or something.
Yeah, I mean, bringing it right back to 1998.
They've got, I guess, a free period because this cop comes over. He's like, hey, what are you guys doing? We got a free period. And he's like, go back to school. We're like, okay. And then he hears something inside this kind of warehouse.
Yeah, it's sort of an abandoned, derelict building type thing.
Yeah. And he goes inside because he thinks it's another kid.
Yeah.
And he gets
But it's actually
killed.
a Droideka.
It's
It's Davros on a Droideka.
the Doctor Who. It's a Silurian Droideka.
But he gets zapped. Apparently
dies.
killed.
Yeah. Well, he goes to heaven.
Yeah.
So,
As we find out later on in the episode.
right.
And I misspoke earlier. Now it's all downhill. That was an all right scene. Whatever. It wasn't great. Wasn't piss poor like the rest of this episode.
I'm kind of
actually
hoping
was.
after every scene you go, and I was wrong. Actually, now is when it's downhill. It's for the whole episode till you get to the end. Like, wow, I guess it wasn't downhill.
Well, it doesn't get any better.
But that doesn't mean it has to get any worse. So let's just dive right in here. Let's just dive in at the deep end because the Doctor's acting pretty weird already.
The Doctor stays after the meeting, as does Clara. So already setting him up as like this.
Well, you're forgetting that she tells another easily, provably wrong lie to Danny Pink. Because she leaves with all the teachers and then she's like, oh, I left my jacket in that room back there. And Danny's like, did the caretaker know you? And she's like, no, but I'm just going to go back in that room with the caretaker, to get my jacket.
Well, he totally calls it out of that was a pretty knowing wink that he that wasn't very subtle. I saw that and she was like, that was just a friendly, anyone would have given that wink.
Danny's
it wasn't,
right.
It wasn't just to me. What are you talking about?
Danny's like, right. And she's like, yeah, I'm just going back. not to talk to him, just to get my jacket, you know? That I left in that room. Back there. He's like, right. Uh-huh. She goes back in.
She's like, what are you doing here? Why
like,
are you here?
I'm undercover. And she's like, that means the school's in danger. And he's like, yeah, but I'm going to protect it. So, and, honestly, if Clara and Danny just totally stayed out of his plans, would have been totally fine. Would have worked out just fine.
Yeah,
no one would have even known.
That was actually the one interesting thing in this episode, in my opinion, is like, we'll get there. We'll get there. I want to mention it when it happens.
That's fair. But she's like, all right, well, just don't mess this up for me. And he's like, all right. And then we get, I don't know, I thought this was a pretty funny scene. The doctor's like on a ladder. Clara's teaching, and he's like at the window. And he's like, wrong. And she's like, what? And he's like, Jane Austen wrote Pride and Prejudice in
1796.
Yeah, 1796.
Instead of 1797.
Yeah, because she had written 1797 on the board. And then she goes on this rant about she's like, oh, how would you know? Did you and Jane Austen go fight off aliens? And she calls him a funny name that I don't remember.
Well, earlier, the scene where she goes back for her jacket, as she tells Danny, she goes, I hate you, which I guess is her Anakin impression there, right? You know, I hate you. But yeah, she calls him some names here, and he's like, no, actually, I just read the flap on the book.
Yeah, he's like, there's a bio in the back. And she's like, get out of here.
So, I mean, the kids have probably already figured out that they know each other. Everyone's probably already figured it out.
But then she dismisses them without any homework, and they're like, but miss, what about homework? She's like, what? Who asks for homework?
So we get the impression that Clara is not the best teacher.
You're just getting that impression now.
Yeah, I mean, when I got that impression while watching this, I was like, wow, I can't believe I didn't realize this before. I mean, we'd only seen, like maybe a minute or two of her in the classroom, but yeah, I don't know. Just something about it that's like...
I just realized how weird it must be for those two kids she watched in Series 7. Like, if they went to Coal Hill School, can you imagine their babysitter was their weird English teacher?
Oh, it wouldn't be that weird.
A little weird.
Yeah, it would have been a little weird, but not, like, overwhelmingly weird.
Be difficult for her to remain impartial while grading their papers.
Going back to what we discussed in Deep Breath, it does actually seem like there are too few teachers at the school for the amount of students. But maybe some of them just bailed on the meeting. Maybe they're just like, I don't want to go to this stupid meeting.
The doctor, for his part, is actually doing caretaker-y things around the school because I guess they're having an electrical problem, which he fixes, but also plants some sort of weird, sketchy electronic device. But to his credit, he does fix the electrical problem. So
hey, nobody notices his plants, like
except it's Danny.
Yeah, I mean, if this was someone other than the doctor, like if this was someone like planning bombs to like blow up Coal Hill School, like Danny would have saved the school. Like the principal and like pretty much everyone else seems oblivious to the sketchy things the doctor is up to.
Well, so now we get this really weird scene because the headmaster, I guess, is talking with the doctor while he fixes this electrical box. And he's introducing Danny to the doctor. He's like, Danny used to be a soldier. He's like, oh, right, he teaches PE. He's like, no, he's a math teacher. I'm like, wait a minute. Because then they get really adamant on the fact that Danny's a math teacher. And like, yeah, he is. But in his very first scene, didn't we see him teaching like physical education to those kids?
So, I mean, I don't know what's up with this. I feel as if they're going to come back in a later episode and do some multiple timelines thing or whatever where like Danny is... maybe used to be a PE teacher, but then due to like someone, perhaps the doctor, messing with the timeline, like he's now a math teacher. I don't know. That's just my guess.
This is really weird in this episode. It's like, no, I'm a math teacher. And I'm like, but you taught PE. I mean, you can be a math teacher and a PE teacher. They're not like exclusive.
No, but he says he's not a PE teacher at all. He says, I'm just a math teacher. Or sorry, maths teacher.
That's the other thing he said.
That's so weird to me is that British people say maths. But I guess the reverse must be true, too, that it's so weird that, an American would say just math.
I mean, we say physics, plural. Why not maths, plural?
I guess. Well, I guess it's like
We also
here,
don't say biologies.
well, like I mean, everyone says mathematics, right? It's not like
Yeah.
some Americans say mathematic. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's just that we shorten mathematics to math, and that they shorten it to they retain that it's a plural in the shortened form of like it's maths.
Probably more correct. Although I wouldn't know.
know.
You're the English
I don't
major
know.
here.
I don't think you can be more correct, right? It's either you're correct or not.
No, I mean, I think you can be partially correct
Yeah,
on
all
some
right,
things.
sure. Yeah, I guess that is on a gradable scale.
But yeah, Danny's like
It's-
really adamant.
well-
He's like, I'm not a PE teacher. I'm like, okay, well then. I mean, I guess was it Deep Breath when they introduced him?
Yeah.
Or was it Into the Dalek?
No, it was.
No, I think it was Into the Dalek.
Yeah, I don't remember now.
Where, I mean, I guess
Yeah,
that
it was
thing he
Into
was
the Dalek.
teaching
It was
wasn't
Into the
like
Dalek.
PE. It was just like the Coal Hill Cadets. And I know we're in that episode, we're like, so is he just teaching them to be mini soldiers?
Yeah.
What's going on here? I'm so confused about
Yeah,
Danny's position at the school.
Maybe that was just like a fringe thing he started that is not unaffiliated with Coal Hill School. Maybe he just rounded up some kids and he was like, hey, you guys want to
Wanna
do
be
some soldier
soldiers?"
training?
But they're named the Coal Hill Cadets.
Plus, Danny doesn't even want to touch on his soldier background. So, I mean, that's why, like, his being so adamant about it is like, that's why I was like, there has to be something more to this. Because
Or
they
just
wouldn't,
Stephen
they
Moffat
wouldn't
totally
play it.
forgot what he was doing.
Maybe it's like they wouldn't have played it up so much that like, yes, I'm a math teacher and not a PE teacher, unless they were going to come back and have that be a major part of the plot.
They even like, I feel like they even contradict this in this episode because then the doctor goes and he cleans up this graffiti that says Ozzy loves the squatty, which is Clara Oswald loves the squatty, which is
Well,
Danny
that doesn't
Pink.
mean that he teaches PE. That's like referring to his soldier background.
See, that's the thing is that it can either refer to his soldier background or it can refer to him being on a football squad. So,
I guess. But it's the former of those two.
is it though? We don't see any evidence.
Well, I still think
We don't see any evidence backing up
It,
either of those points of view for that graffiti.
Well, except that, yeah, I don't know. Like, this is just it's so weird that it has to be this. They can't. It's like it can't just be that this is going to be dropped. It has to come back in some large capacity. Like, there's no way it's not going to.
Putting a lot of faith in Moffat.
Yeah, remember like most of the seasons of the classic show were like this has to like result like this all has to like result in like character development or like this all has to come back in like some meaningful way. Every season finale it would just be another episode.
I also remember how we didn't learn from our mistakes, and every season we were still like, this has to come back, and then when it doesn't, we were like shocked.
Key to time.
Key to time, this has to have a satisfying resolution.
And it almost did. It very nearly did.
But then they just explode the key to time and send it off again. And I was like, what? But anyway, the doctor is suspicious or thinks that Clara's boyfriend is this other English teacher who seems a little dense, to be honest.
So this Matt Smith wannabe walks up to, I guess, Clara and the doctor goes like, I see what's going on.
I can't really blame him for this completely false assumption here, given how this guy looks exactly like
Him.
Matt Smith.
He used to look like.
Yeah. So this guy, like I said, seems a little dense because he's like, we really need to get across the unfinishedness of Shakespeare's work. And I'm like, okay.
Well,
I feel like there are better words to use there.
New discoveries are coming out all the time.
Yeah, no, I'm just talking about how he completely stumbled over his words, kind of just went, unfinishedness. This guy's supposed to be an English teacher. He couldn't come up with the word incomplete.
Well, that's the thing is you'll find with people who study English is that they can't talk very well. It's true.
It's a nice blanket statement you made there.
It's true.
Are you including yourself in that blanket statement?
Oh, yeah. Podcast co-host can't talk. No, I mean, like, people who study English, I've noticed as someone who has studied English, are far better at writing and communicating themselves via, or their positions via writing, rather than speech.
Right. Well, the doctor then goes to his little caretaker closet, I guess, and
The TARDIS is there, and
Courtney Woods shows up.
yeah, like the TARDIS is basically completely unguarded,
Courtney Woods is
guarded
actually
by the Doctor's words.
Courtney Woods is the best character in this story, in my opinion. She's just there to have fun.
I guess she makes some snide remarks to Clara.
Yeah, about her liking Danny. Because Clara and Danny, like, do you think they know? And it's like, you're making it pretty blatantly obvious.
It's just funny how Clara thinks all of her lies are
completely opaque.
Yeah. So I forget what the Doctor even says to Courtney.
Well, she comes in for paper towels, and she's like, what's in the box? And he's like, this is the caretaker's box. She's like, what was that green light coming out of it? It's like, just go to Claus. Take the damn paper towels.
She comes back later. But the seeds of suspicions have already been sown. The next scene with the Doctor and Courtney is much better than this scene, so I guess it does get better.
So it's not wrong. So it's not all downhill.
No, it wasn't. It's not. It's like this is.
So you lied. It's not all downhill yet. After this scene, you gotta wait till after that scene.
I blatantly lied, like Clara. No,
and we saw right through it.
It's just like it's mostly downhill. This is like the overall slope is downwards.
It's like when you're hiking.
There's little like things where you might
flat segment. All right. Well, so the Doctor then explains his plan to Clara, and I'm like, this is where you messed up, Doctor. Should have just kept your plan secret so Clara didn't even know. But
she would have known. The Doctor's lies aren't very good either.
But he just basically explains that tonight he's going to lure the what was it? Sovox?
I have no idea.
Blitzer out.
It was such a lame addition to an already lame story. Like, maybe if this creature / robot / whatever it is had been more interesting.
It looks like a cyberized Silurian with 4 legs.
But you can tell that the main focus of this episode is, like, the Clara and Danny Pink and, like, the stuff.
Yeah, like
the real world, like, grounded. But the Lodger, like, had all this going on in the background of, like, the Doctor is an alien and Craig has to put up with the shenanigans that arise from that, and like the creature upstairs, and like interspersing that well throughout the episode. And
well, also Craig was lovable and didn't lie through his teeth.
Yeah.
And Craig was like naively trying to go about figuring out what's going on with the Doctor, right? Kind of like Danny in this episode, except Danny like steps way out of line later on, which we're almost there.
Yeah. No, I don't think we even need to compare Craig to Danny.
I like how we're holding up Craig as this like pariah.
In hindsight, Craig actually is like a great character. That's why they brought him back.
Gareth. Bravo. What happens next? Oh, Danny, for once, cancels his date with Clara, and
I don't think it's for once. Remember when they implied that he had been bailing for weeks?
Oh, that's true, but he uses a Clara-esque lie here, where he's like, "Oh, it looked like you were going to cancel." She's like, "I did. I wasn't though." He's like, "Oh well, I got some stuff going on."
Read, those books, man. Like,
she's like, "Wow. Okay, cool, I guess." He's like, what about tomorrow? She's like, tomorrow's parents' night. And he's like, oh, okay. Well, not all night, though. She's like, I guess.
How do you know? How do you know, Danny? Parents' night might go on all night.
I have some things to say about parents' night. But Clara, well, so that's the thing, is when she leaves the TARDIS, she actually has this conversation with the Doctor, because she had asked before if Danny looked anything like Orson Pink, and the Doctor's like, nope, looks nothing like him. I wasn't sure if the Doctor was just being funny here, or if he actually genuinely didn't think Danny looked like Orson, but I mean, whatever the case.
I don't know. I don't even know what's going on with the Doctor in this episode.
He like insinuates that he approves of Clara's boyfriend choice, because he assumes that it's the Matt Smith wannabe. And she's like, great. And he's like, go gallivant off tonight with him, go Yeah, go.
But it's parents' night.
Well, that's
So-
tomorrow. He tells her tonight to go off, but then she comes back in the evening because she's like, "Oh, Danny canceled." And she's looking for the doctor. Turns out Danny canceled, so he can like look for the doctor's little time mines. Because the doctor explains that his plan is to lure the Blitzer to the school where the time mines will send it 1,000 years into the future. And the doctor explicitly
it was
says,
more than that. It was like some distant time where it can't hurt anyone or something.
Yeah. But the doctor explicitly says, like, the worst thing we could do is get a soldier or an army out here to shoot at it because it's just going to kill everybody who tries to shoot at it. So that's why I'm doing this completely non-lethal, like, completely safe method. I'll just lure it here, beam it to the future. And Danny completely buggers up the plan because he moves one of the time mines.
Or he's like collecting all of them. Isn't he? Like he's putting them in the gym, which is where all this is going down. Or I don't know if it's a gym, like just sort of assembly area, auditorium type thing. Mm-hmm. Whatever it is.
I'm not sure if they were supposed to be in the gym or if Danny was putting them in the gym.
No, he was putting them in the gym because the doctor was planting them around the school, I believe.
Yeah.
And then Danny just is like collecting all of them. I guess just to figure out what they are.
Don't know why Danny was putting them all on like separate chairs though, in a circle, in like an Alcoholics Anonymous circle.
Maybe Danny was like going to perform a seance with them or something. We don't know.
But the doctor runs in. He's like, no.
Yeah, he basically tells Danny that he ruined everything, and
Danny
Danny's
walks
like,
in.
Danny walks in. And he's like, what's
Clara
going on here?
Also
Clara?
walks in.
He's like, tells Clara that she has some explaining to do. He's on to her lies.
But then she's like, we gotta.
And she tries to cover this up in the worst way possible.
Well, before that happens, the doctor activates the mines and he sends the Blitzer into the future, and he's like, damn it, you messed it all up. Like the time mines had to be precisely aligned.
Right.
And now I only sent him like at most 3 days into the future. And Danny's like, what? Well, we got to get the army. And he's like, no, literally the worst thing you can do.
Yeah, Danny says they have to call the police or the authorities or someone.
And he's like, just like a soldier would want to do. You just want to shoot. You just want to call the army. Which, I mean, he's right.
Yeah, no, I can totally see that. But, like, this is the thing I wanted to touch on before of, like, when you think about it, this almost harkens back, I think, to Vampires of Venice, where Rory makes the comment, like, you know, he tells the doctor that he he's insinuating, but he's like, he essentially says, like, you brainwash people and you're running towards danger. And that, like, as a longtime watcher of Doctor Who, that's kind of a mind-blowing moment of, like, wow, you know, what the doctor and his companions do is not a normal response to danger. And just, it's so obvious, but I guess it took just saying it plainly to realize that. And so when you think about it here, Danny's in the right. It's like some weird crap is going down. He's like, we have to, like, tell someone about this. We can't just deal with it ourselves. He has no idea, like, the scope of any of this. And the doctor's just there telling him, like, no, you idiot. Like, we can't tell anyone about this. By the way, I'm an alien.
But on the other side of the coin, I mean, Danny is right. We got to tell someone about it. I guess the other thing, though, is that Danny doesn't realize that the person you should tell the alien things about is either UNIT or the doctor. Right?
Yeah.
You should be telling the doctor about it, and that's why the doctor's like, well, we can't tell anyone about it, because I'm literally the foremost authority on aliens.
Yeah, I'm just...
Not that Danny knows that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't fault Danny for this.
No, I don't either.
Because he has no way to know... He has no way... There's, like, no possible way he could have known better.
Right. Right. I mean, Danny does some things in this episode that I don't fault him for, this being one of them. The other being when he goes to Clara, like... He says, like, he's turning you into a soldier, although that moment, like, falls completely on its face for other reasons.
Because Rory did it first and better.
Yeah, exactly.
So here's another thing I don't fault Danny for. He asks Clara to, like, tell him the truth about what's going on.
Well, and then Clara pulls a Monsters, Inc.
Wait, what do you mean?
Don't you remember in Monsters, Inc. when
It's been years, man.
They're trying to send Boo. Her name's Boo,
Boo.
right? Back to her place they sneak into the factory at night, and then they get caught, and they're like, "We're rehearsing for the play.
Oh, right.
Put that thing back where it came from. Also, help me." Bum 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 bum. Yeah, so she pulls the Monsters Inc. here. And she's like, it's just a play! We're practicing, it's a secret play!
And apparently the doctor is convinced by this, but not Danny.
I don't think the doctor's actually convinced. I think he's just like giving Clara like a hard time by being like, yes,
yeah.
Clara, tell me about this play we're doing.
But later he comes back and he's like, so we're not actually doing a play? Or it's not exactly that, but it's something along those lines.
He says something like, what about that play we're supposed to be doing?
Yeah.
But Danny's like, right, a play. The doctor's like, just tell him. Like, I'll just erase his mind. And Clara's like, no erasing minds. He's like, all right, if you say so. But she explains that the doctor's a time-traveling alien. And Danny's like, are you an alien? She's like, no, I'm from Blackpool.
Right.
And then the doctor's like, well, she tells him the TARDIS is a time machine, so the doctor shows him the inside. He's like, this is too weird for me. He's like, why didn't you tell me?
He doesn't do weird.
Yeah, I was going to say,
remember.
that's exactly what I thought of in this moment, because he's like, why didn't you tell me? And Clara, instead of saying the reasonable thing of like, well, you said you didn't do weird, she just tries to come up with some nonsense explanation like, oh, you wouldn't get it, you know? He's like...
What a mess.
Oh, yeah. And then they go home. Clara and Danny. I guess. They go home.
They have a conversation, and I don't remember at all what they talked about. At this point, I was totally turned off the episode.
So this is another thing I didn't fault Danny for, because he basically is like, so is he more special than me? Do you love him? Like, you always go off traveling with him? Like, yeah, I mean, if my girlfriend just went traveling off with a strange old man in a box, I'd be pretty suspicious of that.
But remember, this entire thing was done first and better by Rose and the Ninth Doctor and Nikki.
Yeah, it was. There's this really funny line, actually, where Danny comes in and he asks Clara, or the doctor's like, he says like, oh, is this your he's like, oh, I know what's going on. This is your granddad. And the doctor's like, what are you talking about? We look the same age. And Clara's like, we do not look the same age. And Danny's like, yeah, you don't look the same age. And he's like, yeah, well, I was being nice to you, Clara. And I was like, what?
Yeah, no, it doesn't fully hit the mark there, that little bit. But nice try, I guess.
So then the doctor, the next day, he's kind of come up with an alternate plan. I guess he works through the night here. And he's like, it's going to take me 24 hours to get this plan up and running. I'm like, well, you could just work on it and time travel back in time when it's done, you know? But anyway.
But someone comes back, I think it's Clara, and he's like, you only have 2 minutes. And he's like, I guess we'll have to make it work then.
We're not quite there yet, because we need to get to the scene now where Danny goes way out of line. Because Danny's like, well, I don't know the real you, like the you that's with him. And then she tells him about the invisibility watch, because that was the doctor's plan to lure the Blitzer to the school, was to use an invisibility watch. And so she gives it to Danny, and she goes into the TARDIS talking with the doctor, and he's like, let's go somewhere.
Yeah, the reasoning behind this is that she wants to, like, let Danny in on, like, her travels and show him how she and the doctor interact or whatever, I guess, is what the plan is here.
Right. But then the doctor knows. He's like, oh boy, this is where it's all downhill for Danny. Just digging himself a grave in the minds of me, anyway. Because the doctor's like, as a Time Lord, you know, I'd be trained to recognize, like, photon distortions. And then Danny
comes out of cover and he's like, Time Lord, is it?
He's like, I should have known. And the doctor's like, what are you even talking about? He's like, it must be the scent of aristocracy. And the doctor's like, what are you even talking about, dude?
At this point, like, I guess what I thought... Okay. I thought he was going to come out and be like, Time Lord, eh? I'm actually an alien who's the arch nemesis of, like, Time Lords. And I seriously thought that, like, it was going to go that route. But, like, it's...
But instead it goes this way, where he goes, yes, sir. Yeah, you're a soldier. You're an officer, aren't you? Yes, sir. Gonna listen to all your orders. And the doctor's like, what's even going on? Clara's like, what's going on right now? Yeah, I mean, Danny just goes like all in on this, just like yelling and insulting the doctor, calling him, just being like, yes, sir, right away, sir. And the doctor's like, what are you even doing?
Yeah,
It's
again,
having like a flashback moment here.
yeah, no, I mean, again, devil's advocate, like, you can tell that he's taking out some anger on, like, someone who has no idea what's even going on.
He's
Like,
taking
someone who doesn't deserve to have
yeah, he's
this happen
taking
to
his
them.
anger out on the doctor, and the doctor's
Someone
just
who's
like,
completely unrelated.
the doctor's like, what did I do to you?
But you can tell that the doctor's a soldier and stuff like that, so I guess he just hates soldiers.
Just like the doctor, I guess. But the doctor isn't a soldier anymore.
Yeah, this entire thing was just dumb.
Get ready, because we're gonna have more outbursts like this from Danny Pink. I hope you liked it. I hope it was your favorite part of the episode.
Oh boy.
But then the doctor's like, all right. Well,
Well, he's not that passive about it. He tells him to get out of the TARDIS.
yeah, well, he's yelling and making a fuss and making a scene, so... I mean, he's like, am I dismissed, sir? And the doctor's like, yes, you are. Get out of here. And Danny's like, see? That's who he is. He's an officer, like he just won some sort of battle here. But Claude's just standing there like, I'm not really sure what's going on.
And I was just sitting there like, I'm not really sure what's going on with this show. You know, I know this is a little much, but I was just thinking, you know, if you showed Verity, Lambert, and Waris Hussein like this episode, I think
Waris
they would
Hussein
be...
is still alive, so...
Oh, yeah, that's true. Wow, that is true. Okay. Well, maybe he hasn't seen the episode. But I don't know, I feel like if you showed this episode to people who, like, the people who were foundational for Doctor Who, and let's throw Terry Nation in there as well. I
David
don't know.
Whittaker?
Sure. And all the other people
Barry
whose
Letts.
names I'm forgetting.
Barry Letts?
Show this episode to them, and I think they'd be very disappointed. Very disappointed.
Yeah, but by the same token, show the massacre to Stephen Moffat, and I think he'd be really disappointed too.
I guess, but I don't know. It's just going the other way. Going back, like, Stephen Moffat can watch the massacre whenever he wants and be disappointed. You know? He didn't create Doctor Who. He just shaped it, for better or worse.
With these
And in this-
hands, I changed Doctor Who. Unlimited cosmic power. But anyway,
Yeah, whatever.
the Blitzer comes back 2 days early during Parents' Night. And you know, I didn't really get this Parents' Night
No,
thing.
neither, like, how is Parents' Night set up? It almost seems like a meet and greet type thing with, like, rabid fans waiting outside the doors and, like, you know, they're all waiting at tables and...
Yeah, the parents meet with each teacher individually, I guess, which you have to think how bloody long this is going to take given the, like, number of students at this school.
Right, and the seeming deficiency of teachers. Well, in terms of numbers, and perhaps also skill.
Well, Danny, to his credit, seems to be like a pretty good math teacher in the one scene
Except
we
for
saw
when he
him.
breaks down in class.
Okay, you know what? I take it back. While this is going on, we get the other scene with Courtney Woods, where I guess the doctor has just stopped giving a damn about anything
Yeah,
because
I
Courtney
really
shows
like
up,
this scene.
and the doctor's like, "Humans, do I ever learn?" And Courtney's like, "What's going on?" The doctor's like, "Oh, you want to know what's going on? The TARDIS is a time machine, and I'm an alien from outer space. You want to see inside? Look, it's bigger on the inside." And Courtney's like, "Wow, cool. Can I go to space?" And the doctor's like, "Maybe you can. I'll think about it."
She's gonna come out of this situation like, holy crap, that caretaker was on drugs, and he probably slipped me some of them too.
I know you said you didn't pay much attention to next time.
No, yeah, I didn't.
But Courtney Woods gets taken to the moon next week.
Huh.
So
Is this Stephen Moffat does the moon base 40 years later and worse?
no, this is Stephen Moffat makes a bad story. It's not. I don't think Stephen Moffat even wrote the story next week. So next week is actually like one of my most disliked episodes in all of Doctor Who. So
Wow. This is one of my most disliked episodes in all of Doctor Who. This is
Wow.
top 10 bad for me.
Yeah,
And
this doesn't
even,
even
like-
crack the top 30 for me. So
Well, Courtney Woods is funny in this episode, but even she is kind of an annoying little shit.
well, her name is Disruptive Influence. Remember?
Oh, right. But, like, I don't know. She's just unjustifiably mean to Clara. And that's like the thing. This seems to be a trend in this season, is like all the characters are just unreasonably mean to each other.
Yeah, it's
and
going
you
back
know-
to that classic series thing, although I think, the creators of the show didn't realize that in the classic show, people weren't just unjustifiably mean to each other. They were just, the Doctor was just cranky.
I don't know. I don't think in the classic show that they were unreasonably mean to each other. The first Doctor
There's
was
a couple things in Unearthly Child that were questionable. The Doctor did just want to kill that dude so that they wouldn't get found out. Let's not forget that.
well, they did tone it down.
And him and Ian-
between the pilot and the actual.
Him and Ian
Too smooth,
argue
yeah.
about who's in charge for a whole episode.
It didn't feel as. Maybe I'm just looking at this all in hindsight with these rose-colored glasses and stuff like that, but
Rose tinted
feel-
glasses, red flags just look like flags.
didn't feel as bad as this episode did. I can't even talk right. Like what this episode is preventing me from describing how bad it actually was.
Maybe it was just so good it blew your mind and you just can't comprehend it yet.
Maybe I just loved this episode so much that when I finished watching it, like my mind was destroyed and I had to like rewrite my memories of
Well,
like
if you can have things that are so bad they're good, right? In theory, there should be something at the opposite end of the spectrum that's so good it's bad. Right?
I guess.
But the resolution to the story is that Clara has to lead the Blitzer through the school, I guess, to the Doctor.
Just like the corridors.
And the Doctor basically disguises himself or convinces the Blitzer that he's its superior officer. And Danny comes in and distracts the Blitzer while the Doctor punches in the shutdown code, and then the Blitzer shuts down.
Yeah, Danny uses the invisibility watch and kind of like does a leap, sort of.
It does a front
like
flip.
a Matrix
Yeah.
maneuver.
Front flip over the Blitzer. Would have kind of sucked if he had done that and just got shot like immediately and just died right there. Well, it's the end of
Sucked.
Danny Pink.
Just kidding.
Would have actually
So
been
this
better
is-
than the way Danny goes out. I mean, I don't want to spoil
Oh,
it, but
boy.
it's just...
Well, this like all right, I get it. This is sort of them like reconciling. Danny helps the Doctor with what he needs to do. Kind of in a Robin Hood-esque way from Robot of Sherwood.
Kind of, but the story's... I can kind of see where the story's going here, where it tries to be kind of clever because, Danny's trying to tell Clara, like, the Doctor's just an officer who doesn't, he doesn't want to admit that he's a soldier, but he's still a soldier, and the way that the Doctor defeats the Blitzer is to become its superior officer and give it the order to shut down.
Right, but there's also the thing of like Danny says that about the Doctor, but you also have to think that he's probably talking about himself as well. Like he's calling out the Doctor for being a soldier, yet he himself still is very much a soldier, as we see with him helping the Doctor.
Right. I mean, there's also supposed to
He
be
doesn't have the moral high ground here.
No, he doesn't at all. But I guess there's also this dichotomy that Danny, for better or worse, literally lives his entire life around the fact that he's a soldier. Tells everybody, he's like, I'm a soldier, I'm a soldier, I'm a soldier. And the Doctor, doesn't tell anyone, right? Sometimes you have to wonder if a lot of the traumatic moments, I guess, that Danny's experienced throughout the series so far, like breaking down at dinner when Clara's like, killing someone means something coming from you, right? Or when he cries in class, you have to wonder if a lot of those could have been avoided if he hadn't told people he was a soldier and they didn't know.
Does he tell people, or do they just figure it out, or know from some other source or something? I don't know. I don't think we've ever seen him going around telling people.
Well, he tells the Doctor in this episode for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
So
I mean, I got the impression that people just kind of knew,
right,
and
but,
word got around.
But how would people know? I guess
I
is
don't
the
know. I
thing.
mean, maybe word gets around.
Right, but where did the
He
word
probably
start?
maybe the headmaster spread it. How would I? Mean,
How
I
would
don't
the
know.
headmaster
I
know?
don't know. That's just the impression I got.
I mean, for some reason, I seem to think he told someone he was a soldier when he was training those Coal Hill cadets
No, maybe.
back in the-
Yeah, I don't
back
know.
at the beginning of the
I can't
season.
remember.
So,
But yeah, that's how they resolve everything.
like
In
I
a
said,
very unsatisfying, dumb, quick way.
I mean, in a way, I don't think it is unsatisfying. I think it is quick, but I think it's supposed to play into the fact that the Doctor, that Danny claims, I guess I should say, that the Doctor is a soldier. That the Doctor's, I guess, whole kind of thing is to be a soldier. I think there's this other dichotomy in that the Doctor, even though he was a soldier, is taking steps and making efforts not to be one. He always tries to find solutions that don't involve shooting things or killing people or giving orders, right? His original plan wasn't to shoot the Blitzer and try to blow it up. It was to just transport it like 1,000,000 years into the future where it wouldn't be able to harm anyone. Whereas Danny, I mean, say what you will about whether he tells people he's a soldier or not, it doesn't exactly look like he's making a measured effort to moving past that trauma.
Can he, though? That's my question.
Can he make an effort or can he move past?
Yeah, can he move past?
I mean,
Whether he makes
wouldn't,
an effort or not.
You wouldn't know unless he tried, right?
Well, that's a question that we can pose to, I don't know, I guess just the body of writing out there about trauma, which I'm not going to go digging through. Didn't like the episode or character enough to even make the effort.
I'm trying to play devil's advocate here and look for the redeeming aspects of of Danny's existence, I guess I should say. You know?
Wow, harsh.
Well, I mean, like, in the context of the show, when they created the show, you know, Danny's existence serves some purpose, right? Whether it's the purpose that Moffat wanted it to be or a purpose that it just grew into on its own.
Yeah.
But
right.
And I'm just trying to, I guess, postulate.
Put the pieces together.
You know, I'm just trying to put the pieces
in a way
together.
that doesn't create a disgusting, I don't know, amalgamation of like garbage puzzle.
I'm trying to look at it from a different point of view that isn't so negative. It's not working brilliantly, but, you know, I'm trying. Gotta give him at least some credit, I guess.
Yes. I mean, I don't know. There's just many things about this episode that just combined to make it not a good episode.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't think I hated it as much as you, but I don't think it was a good episode. I think it would probably be, it's probably my least favorite of the season so far.
Oh yeah, definitely. Same here. Well, we get a final sort of scene with the cop who we thought died, but is actually taken to heaven.
Mm-hmm.
Or is heaven the afterlife? I guess that's what I'm supposed to be asking at this point. And he's sort of in a white, endless-looking corridor.
Yeah.
And Missy's there, and actually, there's another person there, and it just ends in such a strange way of like...
Well, this other guy, I guess, is like I guess he's like, in Greek mythology, Sharon was the one who ferried people to the underworld.
I don't know.
I guess he's kind of like that.
Sharon? It's such like a normal name.
Well, it's
like you have these like Zeus and Pluto.
C-H-A-R-O-N.
People in the underworld, that's Sharon.
C-H-A-R-O-N. It's probably pronounced like Charon or something like that, but... or Charon.
That's like the
whatever.
Blake 7 tier of like you have like Raj Blake and Karavon, and then you just have character like Janet, or I mean I'm just making that up, but there would just be those characters named like John or something.
But yeah, the guy looks out the window and he's like, "Oh my god!" And then it ends. This is kind of...
no, it ends on like such a... I can't even remember what it is, but this is actually like a Blake 7 level ending of like, the guy says some weird line and then it just cuts to like next time.
Well, the guy says... Well, Missy comes into the room and the guy's like, "Oh, she's very busy today." And I think that's what it ends on.
Yeah.
This is how they should have done it in Into the Dalek. I remember us complaining about how it was just like shoehorned into the middle of the episode. We see the ladies beam out into heaven. This is how they should have done it back then, I think.
It's how they have done it outside of that episode.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've seen this multiple times, and it was only Into the Dalek where they put it in the middle.
Well, the only other time we've actually seen it is Deep Breath. And then in Robot Assured, we had the Promised Land reference, and then...
Yeah. So it seems like they're doing it this way.
And then... oh, that's a spoiler. Yeah, well, so... kill the moon next week.
Is the moon going to turn out to be like sentient and alive, and they're going to have to kill it?
Wow, you picked up on a lot more of the plot from the title of the episode than I did when I watched it the first time.
I mean, what else could that mean? What else could it be?
Well, if you didn't like the bickering for no reason and being angry at each other this week.
I don't think it's for no reason. I just think it's like, you don't have to go that far. It doesn't make for enjoyable, like, television.
Yeah.
But whatever, I don't want to keep railing into it, because we have been for the last, 40 minutes?
The one last thing I want to mention is that there's a little reference to the First Doctor inside the school. At Parents' Night, there's a banner that says, Coal Hill School, a spirit of adventure, which is a reference to the Sensorites, when the Doctor says something like, it all started in a junkyard, but now it's become quite a grand sense of adventure, or something like that.
Nice.
And on that much more positive note, you can email us at thedoctor@decadavevegetable.com. Questions, comments, concerns, angry rants, love letters, your thoughts on Danny, the Soldier Man, Pink. Dan, the Soldier Man, Pink. You can find us on YouTube at Decorative Vegetable. You can find us on Apple Podcasts and Google Play at Trust Your Doctor. Be sure to leave a rating if you like the show.
Check us out on Facebook, Trust Your Doctor. Like us on Facebook. Also check us out on Twitter at TYD Podcast, and follow us on Twitter. And next time we're watching Kill the Moon. But until then, in the end...